Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Growing Kentucky's Leaders. I'm one of your hosts, Sheldon McKinney.
And I'm your other host, Ruth Ann Fink.
And today we have with us two FFA members, some fellow podcasters, and they're really influencers in communicating agriculture with Kentucky FFA members. I want to introduce you to Matthew Estes, a Barron County FFA member, and Madison Wright, an Owen County FFA member. And they are the hosts of a podcast called Rooted in Ag. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you. How about you start by just introducing yourself and about kind of how your FFA journey started. Matthew, we'll start with you.
Sure. So my name is Matthew Estes. I'm from Barron County, like you said, more specifically Cave City. My FFA journey, I was lucky enough for it to start in 7th grade. Barron County is unique. We have the middle school chapter. And really from there, my journey's just continued. I've had some really great advisors throughout my years, and they've really just encouraged me. And then my family is also very FFA friendly. My grandpa, my mom, aunts and uncles were all FFA members. And so they've really been supportive with that. And then my dad, who's from Virginia, that doesn't come from an agriculture background, but he really bought in pretty quick too, once he saw how much I love it. And it's been so great with all the support. And then the podcast started and it's just been crazy.
Yeah, that's great. Madison, tell us about you.
Yeah, so I'm Madison Wright. I'm from Owen County. I'm currently a senior. And my agriculture background started non-traditionally, not like many others. I never grew up on a farm. I was never really knowledgeable about the industry at all. And then my journey started in middle school as well, when my 8th grade ag teacher was like, hey, let's make an FFA chapter. And I was like, I have no idea what those words mean, but I want to be a leader and I want to put myself out there. So let's do it. So we did it. And she was like, we're going to have officer elections. And I was blessed enough to become the president. And, we had no funds. We had just started up. So we created FFA shirts out of like regular t-shirts and bleach. And we like put names on there and used stencils and everything. So the journey leading up to it was amazing. And then getting into high school, my ag teachers are just so ready and so available to everyone. And so I really was able to get that kickstart in freshman year. And like you said, the podcast and then just traveling and meeting new people, it has been an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, that's so cool. I used to be a middle school ag teacher. So hearing that like makes my heart sing a little bit, that's where you all got your start.
Bless your heart.
Hey, it was a really fun 4.5 years. It truly was. Just getting to spend some time with FFA in different capacities now. But we want to talk about you all a little bit more because truly, like, you all are this testament to the community that FFA builds. Like this is why FFA exists, and you all are living that out with purpose. And that's awesome to see. And I'm glad our guests listening today get to hear your all stories. You have mentioned your podcast. You've built this incredible podcast together, but you are not classmates. You all do not go to the same high school, which is pretty unique. So tell us, how did you guys meet? What sparked this idea of your podcast, and what's your vision with it?
Yeah, so I'll start on that. We actually met at a Farm Bureau Outstanding Youth speech competition. He was the previous year's winner, and I was there to compete. So it was just a little bit of, hey, how are you? Thanks for being here and encouraging us, and so on and so forth. And then we had kept in contact a little bit. We had talked during state convention, like, good luck at your competition, and so on and so forth. And then at Eiffel, we both went to UK's Eiffel. We had talked a little bit more, at Eiffel, the bonds just connect immediately. And I feel like that's what happened for us. And I think beforehand, we had been chatting a little bit, and ironic enough, I had sent him a video about lemonade, just rambling on as I normally do. And he was like, you'd be a good podcast co-host. And I was just like, oh yeah, whatever. Like, it was just a joke at first. And then Eiffel, I remember walking through the construction between the Martin Gatton College and like one of just the regular sections of UK. And we were like, maybe we should really get this podcast going. And we had, kind of mentioned it a little bit to other people, and they were like, that would be crazy. But I think at that point, Matthew was so excited that he had already started working on social media and some like branding and our logo. And it just really took off from there. He started emailing people, and we were like, this is really going to happen. And I mean, I'm so excited about it that I'm sure there's key components that I'm missing. So I'll let Matthew chime in on his part
Yeah.
of the story.
Yeah, give us the timeline, Matthew. Like when was Eiffel? When did this happen?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we met November of 2023, right?
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. No, yeah. Sorry. We met November 2023. I had never even heard of Owen County. Um, and then, like she said, we kept in touch. We talked about, we're both regional presidents too, which is really cool. We're not even from the same region.
Yeah.
And I had gotten Barron River regional president, somewhere in April, and hers was like in the next 2 weeks. And we talked about that. She was like, what questions they ask you and stuff. I was like, I don't think the Barron River region is going to help you, but I'll help if I can. And we just kept talking, state convention. We watched the prepared public speeches together.
Mhm.
That was in June. Then we went to Eiffel later in June, right? It was in June.
The last week. Yeah.
Last week of June. And then the podcast, the first episode was July 20th, I think, 2024.
What gave you the idea to say, like, we need to have a podcast? What was that about?
Well, okay. So I applied for a pork producer scholarship.
Okay.
And I have not raised pork in years. And I didn't know what was going on in the industry or anything like that. So I started listening to, I think it was like Iowa Pork Producers Podcast or something.
Okay.
And I was like, they're not really hitting on the issues like I wish they would, or like, I don't know. It wasn't very teenage friendly. I felt like everything was going over my head, I felt like. And so I already had the idea. And then Madison sent that video and I thought it was hilarious. And then I said it, and then she said it at UK. And like she said, I already had the social medias and everything because I wanted to do it so bad. And then she sent the name Rooted in Ag. And then I made a logo. We picked the colors. And I don't know, it just started from there. It was crazy. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
And then we started experimenting on recording and microphones and everything like that. We probably had 20, 30 hours invested before we ever pushed record for our first episode because we wanted it to be as good as we could possibly make it. And I listened to 100 different podcasts. I listened to this one. I listened to, Joe Rogan. I listened to everything. And I like took notes of what I thought made it a good podcast. And we're not there yet. Me and her were talking the other day. We don't think we're at our peak of what we want it to be, but we're working really hard every episode to craft it into something more enjoyable.
Yeah.
That's excellent, guys. You can't just order a microphone on Amazon and become a podcaster. We know because we did too. But it is important to think about, what do I like listening to? What engages me? And let's talk a little bit about that and how you all are reaching FFA members. The tagline of your show is A Journey Through Agriculture, Informing Young People. And, so many things compete for our attention, especially people your age. How do you think we should be communicating better with FFA members? What is getting your attention? Where do you get your news from? Kind of what's your philosophy around that?
Okay. So the big thing, like with the podcast that I wasn't really enjoying, like that were going over my head, they weren't very good at breaking stuff down. Like if I didn't go to DC with Farm Bureau, I'd have no idea what the Farm Bill was. And like they were just like throwing Farm Bill around here or there. I'll use that as my example. And so instead when Shell was talking about, I think it was the land and why land was so expensive right now and how they're combating that, we were really able to get him to go into detail and something that I feel like anybody could understand and how they're fighting that. Or when like Brandon Reed was talking about what we're expecting with the new administration, because Trump had yet to be inaugurated. So we were wondering like, what are some changes that we could see? And Brandon did a really good job of breaking it down for us. And if that's just keeping it simple, the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. Just that, and not trying to be complex or sound sophisticated, just having an actual conversation and, not trying to put on a front by any means.
Madison, what about you? Has that been your philosophy too?
Yeah, I really agree with that. I think that the more you break it down, especially when you're trying to get knowledge out to members like myself that may not know much about the different aspects of the industry, it's so important to take it like you're teaching it to little kids. That's always what I say. I love teaching little kids, so I'm like, explain it like you're telling a second grader, start from the bottom and work your way up, and then you can use those big words. But I think that if you're just trying to like get the word out about something or advocate for something simple, social media is obviously one of the best ways to do it. People are rarely picking up a newspaper anymore or getting on the phone and talking with like legislators or things like that. They're going to social media, they're seeing what's going on. And if somebody wants to know something specific about someone and you or I have had them on the podcast or something like that, they're going to tune into an episode. So I think that social media and really breaking it down for individuals is what's going to get your word out there.
Our best performing posts are always the ones about current events that are maximum like 15 words. Like we break it down really quick. Those are always, most likes, most shares, most comments, most views, which it's not all about that, but that's a good way to gauge if people are enjoying and really taking away with what you're talking about. And when you have some great fans that text you afterwards saying it was a good post, that helps too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. They say that we have 6 seconds of attention span. And that's short form videos. My kids love YouTube shorts constantly. It's the battle we fight. But it is that, how do you break through that 6 seconds of going, there is no way to know all the information you need to know in that 6 seconds. And I think what you said about going from the beginning, it's important to know you can ask questions. Nobody understands everything. And a lot of people, I think, go through and they just pretend like they know without going, can you help me understand this? What's the history behind this? And some of my favorite people and people on our board who have decades of an incredible career, they are people who aren't afraid to go, help me understand more about this instead of just acting like you do know. So I think that's great.
I was going to echo the same thing, that it's easy, right, to like be a leader, especially regional presidents. There's like this, pedestal that we think that these people are on, but I just think it's really great that you all are saying, hey, we don't know, like we want to break this down too. Like, let's really understand this together and move forward. So I think that's brave. And I hope other people take a note out of your book.
Yeah.
Well, I want to compliment you all on your podcast skills, that you're really intuitive interviewers. If people have listened to Rooted in Ag, they'll know that. You really do your homework on your guest, and maybe just like shout out, what are some of your milestone guests that you've had on the podcast? And then we also want to hear, how have your podcasting skills grown?
Yeah,
Madison, we'll start with you.
Okay, perfect. So I think obviously one of the main ones that comes to both of our minds is Jonathan Shell. I mean, Jonathan was extraordinary. He had all the right answers. He just knew how to speak to us and our guests. I also really enjoyed Brandon Reed. His morals were just set in stone with exactly what we believe. And then, when we had Caroline on, and then we had Molly Webb on, and we got Jacob on and Trenton, we were like, wow, like these are big state office position holding individuals, and like they're so important to the industry. And I think that all of our guests, all of them are super exciting, and they hold the same value because each of them brought something unique to the table. Each of them taught us and our guests something new and inspired us and left us excited and happy. So we truly are thankful for each of our guests. And I think that something that has really grown within ourselves and our podcast interviewing skills is being more conversational. The episode that we're about to release was just a conversation with a dear friend to us. And I'm really excited for everyone to hear that, because at first I think we started out, okay, here's question number 1, here's question number 2. And we never write anything down because we want it to be smooth. But more or less, we just want it to be talking just like we are now.
Yeah,
that's great.
Like what Madison said, we never try to write our questions down because we're really trying to force ourselves to have a better conversation rather than it just being an interview. And like she said, this next episode is the closest we've gotten to it by far. But some of my favorite guests, I really liked having Brandon Reed. Like she said, he's such a cool guy. I love him. He's awesome. But I also really liked Kyle Kelly from Kentucky Farm Bureau.
Yes.
He really got into the nitty gritty and broke stuff down for us. He probably gave us the most policy in an episode, I would say. And that's what we wanted. That's what we were hoping for with him. And he did a really good job at it. And then I don't know why this one holds a special place in my heart, but we had Nick Talkman. He was the keynote speaker for state convention last
That's
year.
awesome, guys. Yeah.
He was really cool to get on just because he's such a positive guy and he has a cool journey. And while he's not like agricultural, like related or something like that, he was just really cool to get on and hear his perspective on, you know, mental health and keeping yourself happy and taking care of yourself. And so that was cool, a very cool experience.
Yeah.
Matthew, how have you seen yourself grow as a podcaster? Madison kind of like talked about ways that she's grown. What about you? How have you grown in this skill set?
I think I got way more comfortable talking behind a microphone. It was weird. Talking through a screen's always been weird for me. I feel like I've gotten better at it, but I've definitely gotten better at editing and social media.
Yeah.
Editing, yeah.
That's a huge part of podcasting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still hate it, but I'm better at it.
Part of it.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you know, Matthew, we pay an editor to help with our podcast. We do not do our own editing. And you need to know that is a viable business.
Sure.
Shout out Blair. We couldn't do it without her for sure. So keep going, keep learning.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, guys, I'm impressed that you don't write any questions down. That's really
we
great.
do. Just so
We
everybody
do.
knows, we do write questions down. We do.
Yeah.
We go off script quite a bit, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
that's impressive.
Yeah, that's great. Well, guys, you all, I want to hear more about your SAE experience that you all have. I'm sure you have some other SAEs, but one of your SAEs is this podcast, and it's a non-traditional route. You know, I think a lot of people, when they think of SAEs, you think I'm showing cattle, I'm raising livestock, that sort of thing. And you may be, but this is a different avenue too. You all have both received SAE launch grants from the Kentucky FFA Foundation. Those are $500 grants to help students expand their SAE projects. Why don't you all tell us about your SAEs and how your grant has helped further your projects?
Yeah. So I have 3 other SAEs besides the podcast. They're all traditional. I have a corn production, I have a sheep placement, and then I have a beef placement or sheep entrepreneurship beef placement.
So what's that mean for people who don't speak FFA?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes.
Mhm.
So with the corn production, I raise about an acre of sweet corn during the summer. I've been doing it for about 6 years now. Pick it all by hand, shuck and silk it by hand, and then sell it in the community. I usually employ some of my friends on the baseball teams during the summer when they want to make a quick few dollars. But yeah, that's just me producing corn. The sheep entrepreneurship, I own 50% of the business, and then my grandfather owns the other 50%. We own about 120 Katahdin and Dorper sheep on an 8-acre plot. And it's like a cow-calf operation for anybody that speaks cattle. We just raise the lambs to about 50, 60 pounds, and then we sell them. And then the beef placement, that's basically me trying to get something out of being a farm kid, you know, free labor. So I might as well record my hours for it. That's what that is. It's just me working on the farm. That's all encompassing, you know, feeding cattle, feeding hay, driving the tractors, doing hay, fertilizing, anything like that can really fall under that because it all relates back to our beef cattle. And then the podcast, and that is the one that I received the grant for, was the podcast this year. Like you said, it's a $500 podcast, $500 grant. And that's just mind blowing. I don't know. It was like, dang, this much money. And we've put it to good use. We still have a little bit of it because we're trying to get some pricing for some other things that we want to do. But I'm looking at around my room. We have all our stuff right now, a lot of it. I might have it.
What did you get?
So we have some coasters.
Okay,
We
you
use a
got
lot
some
of it for
swag.
marketing. So
Yeah.
the plan is we want to send thank you baskets to previous guests to really try to continue to build that rapport and maybe encourage them for another episode. And then
Uh-huh.
we'll also be able to use it as a marketing. And then we used, I can't remember the exact dollar amount, on better editing software.
Yeah.
And then we used just a little bit of it on reimbursement for business cards. And then we still have quite a few dollars left that we are still talking about where we want to spend it, and where it would be most effective for us. But so far, we've put it all to really good use. And it was really cool just being able to apply for it and knowing that there are people in the agriculture community and in FFA, Kentucky FFA, that really like what we're doing and wanted to support us financially. So that was really cool.
That's awesome. Madison, tell us about your SAE projects beyond the podcast and this.
Yeah. So besides the podcast, I have an agriculture education placement. So I work anywhere from 20 to 30 hours a week in a second grade classroom. I try to incorporate a lot of agricultural lessons and books into my time in the classroom. So some of it I'm doing the true instructional work with the teacher that I work with, but other times, like 2 years ago, I've been doing this for a while. This year, I've really picked up the hours since I'm a senior, but I think it was 2 years ago, I did a Valentine's lesson and I taught them about bugs and how bugs are important to agriculture, believe it or not. They may be gross, but they're very important. And we did a paper, and the paper had a jar on it, and they got to draw their favorite like bug that they learned about, and they titled it Love Bugs because it was Valentine's Day. We recently just did a Christmas Around the World project, and when we got to the Italy section, they were learning about like the food they eat there. So, spaghetti and tomato sauce and pizza and tomato sauce. So I taught them, how Kentucky uses tomatoes and the different things you can make out of tomatoes. And then they got to make their own little like pizza bagels, and they loved it. So it's little lessons that I'm like trying to incorporate some of the basic knowledge on agriculture, but also make it fun. That the Pecan Tree and Me, that was the Kentucky Farm Bureau book last year, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, we've read that. My FFA chapter actually got to go around the school and read that, but I read it to my second graders probably once a month because we just both enjoy the book so much. So, I was thankful enough to receive the $500 grant, and I plan to use that with my second graders to create growth journals of tomatoes. So going back on that tomato route, we'll have those journals, and they'll kind of like in the beginning of it just write out the basics like in rules, like washing your hands and washing the plant and then how to grow it and stuff. But they're going to actually get to grow it in the spring in their own 5-gallon bucket. So we'll have like some canvas stuff, like canvas material to go over the buckets just in case we get a random frost because, this weather has been crazy. So I'm going to teach them all the different aspects to growing a plant, and they're going to get to do it in their 5-gallon bucket. And then hopefully once it's ready and ripe, they can either pick it or take the whole bucket home.
Cool.
Yeah.
Madison?
I love the diversity because that's really what SAEs are designed to do for students, is be a place where they can have some kind of project of their interest outside of the classroom. So you guys are both doing that so well. Well, it is clear you all are both very accomplished young people, and we are so proud of you. But tell us, like, what's next? What's going on next for you? Matthew, let's start with you.
Oh, man. So I don't know if I've told a lot of people this. I'm going to UK for agriculture economics. But FFA journey wise, I think I finally decided I do want to run for state office. So we'll see how that goes. I'm already competing at state convention this year for the job interview competition. And then I compete regionally in Parley and Prepared Public in March. So FFA wise, that's what I'm looking forward to in the future. I'm not looking forward to our banquet. I'm going to hate having to retire and leave my chapter. Still grappling with that, but that's where I'm at FFA wise. And then my career wise, I have an internship right now with our county judge executive. I work with her about 5 hours a day during the weekdays. I help run social medias and sit in meetings. I go to her go in her place to usually agricultural things, but our county is so large agricultural wise, just about everything connects back to agriculture. And through that and my experience with Kentucky Farm Bureau, going to DC and stuff, I realized I probably want to go work for like a commodity group once I'm out of college, policy or lobbying, like go work for like Kentucky Farm Bureau or Beef Council or pork producers or the soybean board or anywhere that will take me, honestly.
Yeah.
Hey, Cool.
Shout out. That's wonderful. Yeah.
What about you, Madison? What's next for you?
Yeah, so like you kind of mentioned, retiring my jacket at Owen County, it'll be super sad, but the journey was well worth it. And I feel like I still have more of an impact to leave, but I've left an impact, and I'm very I'm very content with what has happened within my chapter in my 4 years. So retiring my jacket and then hopefully running for state office in June. At the regional level, I'll be competing in extemp this year. I've always done prepared public, so I'm changing it up this year. And really, my advisors urged me to do that so that I could learn more about the agriculture industry and really hone in on all there is to what it has to offer. And I really like that idea. So I've been working hard at that. And then I as well will be attending the University of Kentucky. I am beyond excited. I count down the days. I think UK is a great atmosphere, but even more, the College of Ag has been so welcoming and so inclusive. I'm going to be a community and leadership development major, and that is in the College of Ag. I have no idea what I want to do with my life, but I know that my foundation is set on the Lord, and He'll sort of show me the path. And I just hope that being there with new people and professionals that really want to see me succeed, I'll be able to find my career through the CLD major.
Yeah, I'm a UK grad. Go Cats. This is music to my ears. You all will have a great experience there. It's a great place to be.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, guys, we always wrap up with the same three questions that we do write down beforehand, and we'll end with those with you guys. And the first one is just what motivates you as a leader? Madison, why don't you go first?
Yeah, so I think what motivates me as a leader is knowing that in leadership, there's like a ripple effect, I want to call it. Like, you can have one idea that can spark so many other ideas. So if you take that action and that initiative to be a leader and to present yourself well, others will cling on to that. And it's so hard to speak about because I feel like in my mind it's not words, it's a feeling. But just being there for other members and teaching them that there's a world of possibilities out there, and if you just find, like, I love the term, find your firm foundation, whether that's in the Lord, whether that's in something you want to accomplish, and just keep striving for that and seeing members accomplish that, seeing members or individuals find their firm foundation and lean onto other people is just really what keeps me going, is seeing other people on the path to success.
Man, that
good,
was a
Matt.
great answer.
Mm-hmm. You did good.
No, for me though, it's the impact that has already been left on me by great leaders.
Mhm.
It motivates me to want to leave that impact on other people. I was lucky enough to be able to have some great figures through my high school FFA journey. Molly Webb, and then a whole group of seniors that I left last year. They were all great leaders, and they all had different styles of leadership. So I really was able to see all of them, and I just love to lead by example and not do anything, or not to ask you to do anything that I wouldn't do myself or help you do. And just knowing that impact that you can leave, it really does last a lifetime on some people. And I just know that because I've had people that have done that for me, and it's just trying to also leave my mark. And yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
Matthew, that makes me think of something we say a lot here at the foundation, is that giving inspires giving. People have invested
Yes.
into you, and that makes you want to do that for other people. And you all know, because you're recipients of the Kentucky FFA Foundation, but we're a philanthropy, which is all about giving in lots of different ways. That can be with time, talent, or treasure. And we like to ask our guests, just what is a way that you all have been able to meaningfully participate with philanthropy? So what has been the most meaningful way that you've gotten to engage with philanthropy in your life so far? Madison, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I think that philanthropy consumes my life. I take in so much from this industry and the organization, and I try to give so much back because I see the impact that it's made on me. But one of the main ways that I've engaged in philanthropy recently is the Freshman Leadership Conference that my region hosted. It was taco themed, So it was like, let's talk about FFA. And, the members just loved it. I remember taking one. Okay, so one of the ways I took it in was my freshman year. Dawson Arandro was one of our workshop leaders.
Okay.
And we did the domino promise or the domino challenge. And so we kind of made a domino maze and then we knocked it down. And he was like, each of you knock one domino down. And that one domino represented us. So it was like that one domino knocked down all the rest. That one domino had an effect on everything else. And as one person, we have an effect on everything and everyone else. And I took that back to my region my senior year. So it was a full circle moment. And I implemented it with the freshmen. And I told them, I was like, what you're doing now will have an effect on you and the people around you and that atmosphere later. And just really like being able to engage with young members and give them the same attention and love and hope and determination that I got my freshman year.
That's what it's all about. That's
Yeah.
great. Matthew, what about you?
For me, I'll try to keep it short, but it's a really long answer with a story involved. For me, so we're going to go way back real quick. I have a late uncle. He was an FFA member, very active. His name was Matthew. I'm named after him, my mom's brother. And he died in a car accident. He was a WKU ag major. He died on the Natcher and Bowling Green. And he died in 2005. I was born in 2006. I never got to meet him. And then going on, about 3 years ago, our community had a boy in middle school, an FFA member, die in a car accident also. His name was Carson Hernandez. And his family took it very hard. Our whole community took it very, very hard. And our FFA this year started a food drive in his honor. And then we also have a leadership award. And last year was the first time we'd given out the award. And I got it. And it was rough. For a lot of people, especially one of our advisors. She had him in middle school before she moved up to the high school when one of our ag teachers retired. And so she really, really motivated us with philanthropy. And we did 2 food drives this year where we did a Thanksgiving one where we took in a lot of food. And with financial help from my mom, we went in about 50-50. I think we bought like 80 cans of peas and like 20 pounds of butter or something, just a crazy amount of food we were able to go and put in. And I always participate in food drives and stuff, but never to that level. And then we also did where we prepared food and gave it back to the communities, our chapter did. And so while it's just a chapter event, I think that's the biggest part or biggest thing I've ever taken place in for philanthropy. And it was just a really great feeling for me.
Yeah. Listening to you guys, it's just this great time to reflect on what a full circle experience FFA has given you all, and it gives FFA members all across the state because it's helped grow you as a leader, it's helped grow you as an entrepreneur, a communicator. You've engaged in philanthropy at the local level. You're engaged citizens in your communities, and it's just a testament to what FFA does. And you all are the product that people invest in when they support FFA. And you're much more than product. You're people that matter. And it's just been incredible to get to visit and talk with you guys. One last question. This can be a silly answer, a serious answer, but just the most authentic answer you can give us. And it is, what is something you cannot stop talking about?
Ooh.
That one's tough.
Madison probably has an answer for me if I had to guess.
You can probably tell each other. Madison, what can he not stop talking about? Matthew, you do Matthew.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah, that's a good
do
twist.
that.
I'll answer for myself. Well, Matthew, I think, can't stop talking about baseball.
Okay.
And yeah, I'd say baseball. I'd say baseball's the big one. But for myself, I feel like there's so many things that I could go on about and do go on about for days on end, whether that's FFA or agriculture or my school or Jesus. But one of the things that I like to install in a lot of my friends or, the people that I meet and want to leave an impact on is that you were put on this earth for a specific reason. And, your firm foundation, I don't want to, implant and be like, God, God, God. For me, it is God, but your firm foundation is going to help you lay out all of those key components to become the best version of you. And like everyone is so unique for a specific reason. And that's how good team members are built, is when everyone has a different aspect to their life that suits each other well. You know what I mean? Like I like to communicate with others and be for a friend, and Matthew likes to also communicate with them, but he likes to educate them and really break it down for them. And I'm just more of like I'm so glad we're talking together, you know what I mean, if that makes sense. But just really that everyone is so unique and it's so valuable to life. And like having so many friends with so many different backgrounds and beliefs is truly amazing, because we all work together so well. And I just love when people know that their differences truly do matter in a world that's growing continuously.
Okay, that's great. Matthew, what about you?
Well, for Madison, she cannot stop talking about her kids at school because they've had like 100 snow days. So anytime I talk to her, she's like, I miss my kids. I miss my kids.
Yeah.
But for me, I will agree with Madison. I'll have to say baseball. It's really the leadership side. So our team has 9 seniors. And for baseball, that is very, very unheard of. The past 3 years, we've had a combined 3 seniors. So we are a very old team now, I guess you could say. And we're really trying to navigate as a senior team, leadership, and how, some seniors have better leadership skills than others, but how we can all be on the same page. We had a meeting last night about it, actually, and just how we can all work as a team. It's a group of 9 teenagers. We don't all always get along, and how we can just be uniform for the lower classmen, and how it's our last dance together. We want to go and win a regional title or district title or state title or whatever, and how we need to all be on the same page, and we need to encourage the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, and just be the leaders that we know we can be and that we need to be, and that what we need to be for us to be able to be successful this season.
Have you played baseball your whole life?
I have.
Yeah. And
So
this is it. This is your last year? Yeah.
the last year, I don't think UK wants me on their team, so I doubt I'll play again.
I hear going to the UK baseball games are just as fun. So
Yes. And
You have
I've
that
taken
to
a
look forward
pickleball
to.
too. I've taken a pickleball. I
Okay.
really thought Madison was
Of
going to say
course,
pickleball
yeah.
for me because I played in a tournament and won, no big deal. No big deal.
That's great. Well, you have all that to look forward to when you all get to
Yes.
You all have this is an exciting time in your life, and it is so many monumental changes and last moments, and just take it all in and be in the present. It's going to go fast, and it's been really fun getting to introduce you all to our audience. I hope they all jump in and listen to Rooted in Ag, and I hope we get to see you all flourish for years to come. So thanks for being on our show.
Thank
No,
you.
thank y'all. Me and Matt were talking about like potential guests or like what we'd want to do. And besides Shell, y'all were on top of the list. We were like, imagine if we got on the state podcast. That'd be crazy. So just thank you for having
You did
us.
it.
We really
Yeah.
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
woohoo, good. Yeah, well, thanks, guys. We have enjoyed you all, and we thank you all for listening to another episode of Growing Kentucky's Leaders. Growing Kentucky's Leaders is a podcast brought to you by the Kentucky FFA Foundation. Our music is performed by Bourbon County FFA member Joe Fritch. Artwork is by Julie Fritch Creative. Your hosts are Sheldon McKinney and Ruth Ann Fink, and you can find us on all social platforms at Kentucky FFA.